First of all, Minister, I'd like to be associated with Deputy McGrath's words of welcome to you and good wishes to you in your role as Minister, Junior Minister in this European context. Having said that, I must say that I am hugely, massively disappointed that people in the position that have been put into the position that I've been put into, and there are a few of us now in this House, too many of us, as a result of the choreography of passing legislation and making votes on it. But anyway, here we are on the statements post the European Council, and the statements pre the European Council precluded me from any meaningful conversation with anybody before they went. And I think this is pathetic. And I've used the word that the letter that was the precursor to the Council of Ministers meeting signed by the Taoiseach was pathetic and an embarrassment. And there's a few things I want to touch on. And they're questions and statements combined. First of all, was any amount of debt for write-down, whether it was bank debt in the two remaining banks or government debt held by the central bank, asked for at the meeting? That's the first one. There's a yes or no to that. My guess is it was no. And the reason I ask that is that the banks' problems, the remaining banks, which are zombie banks, and the foreign banks are getting out of here essentially because they don't see it. If they saw that there were green shoots in the economy, they'd be staying. Wouldn't they? But they're not staying because they want to clean up the detritus and the destruction on their balance sheets and just get out and concentrate on smaller units of banking in their own host countries. As a result of, when I hear the words like asset quality review across European banks, that's again the language of obfuscation and fog. The assets that are held in a lot of European banks are government bonds. They're the assets. And the government bonds, depending on their attractiveness or their doubtfulness, go up and down, yields go up and down, depending on the speculative cash that follows assets, whether they're bonds or assets or equities at the moment, is where the hedge funds are investing. That's why you've had sort of nearly a 25% increase in equity prices on the markets. They left, they went out of bonds and into equities and things. So the bank capital across Europe is highly fragile, and they're hiding this fact behind fig leaves of long discussions and so on.
Thank you, Deputy Mathews.
AIG are suing the banks in America because of the subprime loans that they created. Now, the subprime loans were sort of the source and the core of the problem in the United States. But in Europe, it's not. It's all sorts of other assets that are held in financial assets and off-balance sheet exposures that people don't even understand yet here. I think the most important thing for our government to do, and the civil service at the moment, is to read perhaps Joseph Stiglitz's book. It's now in paperback in the last 6 weeks.
The Price
of Inequality. Have you read it?
Deputy Mathews.
It's worth reading.
Excuse me, Deputy Mathews.
Yes,
another
Chair.
Speaker. So
and the last thing is, why did the Minister, on the budget, this is the last question, why did the Minister of Finance in the budget say that Ireland's debt to GDP ratio is forecast to be at 124%? It's not. That's the government debt to GDP. And the government debt to GNP is about 140%. And when you add in household debt and non-financial corporate debt or SME debt, we're the highest in the world.
Thank you, Deputy.
I think it's disgraceful. The last sentence, Schauble said Ireland, is doing fine on the day of our budget.
Thank you.
That was out of place, that remark.
Thank you,
Arrogant and out of place.
Deputy Crowe.